Yeah, I think it's live now. Uh, yeah. Hello everyone, welcome to Sportstar. Today we are having decoding of the Ranji Trophy season, which just concluded with Vidarbha emerging as a champion for the third time. Vidarbha beat Kerala in the final by virtue of taking the first innings lead. A completely dominant performance. They won outright. They secured outright wins throughout the competition and emerged out of the tournament as unbeaten. This is Pranay Rajiv, and we have Amol Karhadkar with us. Okay, Amol, what do you feel about Vidarbha's coming? How dominant was Vidarbha?
Pranay, it's a very funny campaign as such. If you look at the balance sheet, which is the points table come score sheets of knockouts, which is what a cricket balance sheet is, you will see that no other team would have dominated so much, like you said, 8 outright wins in a season. And in the recent past, at least, the only time I remember over the last decade, at least, of a team going unbeaten to win the title was in that COVID season, 21-22, Madhya Pradesh won without losing a match. But
Mm-hmm.
including the final, they played 6 matches.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here Vidarbha has played 10 matches at a stretch. Haven't
Mm-hmm.
lost a match outright. Won 8 outright matches. I remember in 2010-11 when Rajasthan won their first title, no, they had
Mm-hmm.
one outright win in the whole season. They were relying only on first innings leads.
Yeah.
So that also signals that the possible change in mindset at the top of the ladder, no,
Mm-hmm.
has also filtered down in the domestic circuit as it is expected to be. Okay, coming back to Vidarbha, why I am saying it's a funny thing is because in three of those league matches, they considered the first innings lead and then went on to win the match outright. So it wasn't as if they were never in a spot of bother.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they were in a hole, but they found ways to get out of the hole and get back to dominating at their best. And when it came to the knockouts, the rule that has been employed in the last couple of years that when you have either you as in once you are a league topper, you get an home advantage for the quarterfinals. Then
Mm-hmm.
on the team with highest points gets the home advantage, right? It happened with Mumbai last season. We saw they played quarterfinal, semi-final, and final at home. They won
Yeah.
all three convincingly. Likewise, here the same case was repeated with Vidarbha. That's why it's an additional incentive for the teams that are seriously playing for the title
Mm-hmm.
to go for outright wins in the league stage because mere qualification may not be enough when
Mm-hmm.
it comes to the knockouts.
Yes. The point that you made, they have recovered from losing situations. I think in the quarterfinal also against Mumbai, I think they considered the lead and then came back to claim an outright win. So
They
that's
had
one.
a 113 run lead, but in the second innings, they were 50 odd, 59 for 4 or something. So they were effectively 170 odd for 4. So the match was right in balance. But then they
Mhm.
took it away with that Yash Rathod and Akshay Wadkar partner.
Yeah, obviously have to speak a little bit about the Vidarbha players. But before that, we have to speak about the Kerala team, which made a historic first ever final appearance in Ranji Trophy. A lot of thrilling games. They contributed, I think, the largest share of thrilling moments from this particular season. Right from the league stage, they saved a game against Madhya Pradesh, then went on to secure one run first innings lead against Jammu Kashmir, and then when it came to semi-final, again a thriller against Gujarat, they had to squeeze that two-run lead courtesy of Salman Nisar's helmet. Again, I think we will go down as a piece of cricket historic relic for Kerala. So, what do you feel about Kerala's run? How important was it is it for a new team to rise through the ranks?
That's the beauty of Ranji Trophy over the last decade. And Kerala are not really a trendsetter in that sense. We have seen services making it to the semis, okay, in the last decade or so. Okay, but most of these teams know what is pleasing about Kerala is almost a decade ago they made the Sachin Devi made a mention. No, they lost that quarterfinal. That was what 2017-18. That
Yes,
was their
they
first
lost the
quarterfinal.
semi-final to Vidarbha.
First quarter-final also they lost to the first time they qualified. Everything has happened gradually over the last decade. They made
Mhm,
it to the knockouts for the first time. Then they
mhm,
made it to the semi-finals in 18-19.
Yeah.
Okay, there they lost to Vidarbha, and now they're gone one step ahead. So now
Mhm.
they're learning one, how to qualify more consistently, and two, how to mold themselves in that 5 day match. Okay, because most of the so-called smaller teams in domestic cricket, unless and until they qualify for a Ranji Trophy knockout, they have never played. Most of those players have never played a 5 day match. And
Mhm.
from 4 day to 5 day, it becomes a different ball game altogether. Because stretching a match to 4 days becomes a big deal. See, a lot of people give Kerala the credit of winning the quarterfinal by 1 run. We should also remember that they batted time in the fourth innings. Batting time is an extinct art in today's cricket, and they showed it that they have it in them. It wasn't only about that 1 run lead. They had to bat
Mhm.
out almost 4 sessions, okay, which is a big deal to save the match and ensure that that 1 run lead mattered in the end. Okay, so
Even the
that
semi-final, even in the semi-final against Gujarat, Kerala batted for a very long time.
right,
They
right,
nearly had 3 days to push the game into a first inning shootout. That
yes.
again talks about the point you just made about Kerala's choice of going the conservative route, going the traditional route of playing out time. So that's one thing which we can take away from Kerala's campaign this time.
Yeah, and I want to know from you,
Mhm.
what does it mean for a sports fan or the sports ecosystem in Kerala? Because cricket, yes, we have Sanju, we have seen players like Sachin and others, an odd player making their inroad into the IPL.
Mhm.
But what does it signify something? Because see, regional sport is actually big in Kerala. So I would love to know from you how big a
Yeah,
deal it is for Kerala.
I mean, it's a very common perception that football is the most dominant sport in Kerala. I'm not denying that, but cricket is also equally very significantly followed sport in Kerala. We have a lot of local tournaments, tennis ball tournaments, red ball tournaments, a lot of fan following for IPL teams. Obviously, split across other states because Kerala doesn't have an IPL team right now. But this particular Ranji campaign actually got a lot of attention. Usually, when the Ranji Trophy happens, the local Kerala media, the TV channels, doesn't track it as much. But this time, you could see multiple TV channels sending reporters to Nagpur to cover the final, to speak to the players, to cover the action from there. So that's a very could possibly be a defining moment for the red ball cricket scenario in Kerala, because now you have a lot of media attention to the players. Sachin Baby did, I think, countless number of interviews going into the final. He was constantly flooded with interview requests. He had to fill them consistently. But again, as you have said, this could possibly mean a lot. But I covered a game in Greenfield, which was the first Ranji game Kerala played in over like 6-7 years. There were hardly any spectators. There were not. There are absolutely no spectators to watch. That was also a thrilling game. They batted out a day against Madhya Pradesh to claim a draw, which in the end proved to be crucial in their qualification. But again, the local support or the fans coming to watch the match wasn't there. But now that they have qualified for the final, maybe next year things could change. Things could possibly change, and then a lot more local support could come in for the team. Another point which obviously we have to talk about is Mumbai. Mumbai's campaign. One huge. It kept on happening so many times that people stopped understanding that it's a miracle or something like that. Mumbai kept digging themselves into a hole, and their lower order batting saved them multiple times throughout the campaign. Obviously, Shardul Thakur, he has been doing it consistently for many years. But then finally, you can't say luck, but that lower order still ran out of steam in the quarterfinal. So, what do you make of Mumbai's campaign this time out?
Yeah, funny things this is, right? 3 minutes ago, we were saying how big a deal it is for Kerala to make it to the Ranji final finally. And Mumbai's exit in the Ranji Trophy semi-final is constitute to be a failure of a season because that's the legacy that they carry, right? It's like it's still a perception in Mumbai cricket corridors among the old timers. that if you don't make it to the final, it's a failure of a season. Look at what they've done. They've won one of the three interstate tournaments. They started the season off with the Irani Cup win, and they've signed it off with a semi-final loss in the Ranji Trophy. Still, everyone in Mumbai cricket, at least those who matter, are unhappy about the way season went. Okay, and that's understandably so. Like you said, this has been a season of the great escapes, quite similar to the last season. But last season, at least off and on, the top order came in with some handy contributions. This year, now that the season has ended up in a sort of failure for from Mumbai cricket perspective, a lot of things will hopefully start surfacing. For instance, the selection policies. Siddesh Lad's comeback. Uh, at on one hand, you are blooding in youngsters like Ayush Matre and Suryansh Shedge, and on the Himanshu Singh, the off spinner, was a promising selection. On the other, you recalled Siddesh Lad in a bid to have more experience in the middle order. You have an Ajinkya Rahane. You had Shreyas Iyer in the league stage for 5 games. You had Surya Kumar Yadav in the knockouts. You had Shivam Dubey in the knockouts, and you need experienced batter in the middle order. What is the logic behind all this? No one knows. No one has any. I tried to ask this to the chief selector, wasn't a convincing reply. But at least he did not shy away from answering the question. That's the only due credit where we should give it to him. Similarly, once the team bowed out of the knockouts, Ayush Matre should have played the under 23 final, the CK Naidu final. But over there, the rule is you have to have played two league matches to be eligible to play the knockouts.
Okay.
Ayush Matre had played only one. So the match when Rohit Sharma and SSV Jaiswal came, that was the see. These are tactical calls. This is the Mumbai cricket legacy, wherein you take calls that a player that you feel can go big on the international stage, or okay, or overall in Indian cricket ecosystem, you let that player have a feel of the dressing room when the stalwarts are back. So I am not blaming them, okay. But if winning is everything is the mindset that Mumbai cricket has, then that was a botch up. Because had he played that match for CK Naidu, instead of sitting in the dressing room for 4 days, he could have been eligible to play the
Knockouts.
CK Naidu final. Okay. On the larger side, the top order and lower order not coming good anytime. We saw Shreyas Iyer scored runs, 400 plus runs in those 5 matches he played. Ayush Matre had a brilliant start to his Ranji Trophy career. Okay, but barring that one partnership between Ayush Matre and Shreyas Iyer against Maharashtra, not once did the top order and the lower order come good at the same time. And that's why it was all but a given that a team as consistent as Vidarbha was bound to prove to be too good for Mumbai, and that's what happened in the semi-final.
Now that you have spoken about Rohit Sharma, obviously this major highlight of this particular Ranji season was the top international stars coming back to play Ranji. What do you make of it, and do you think that is going to be a consistent feature going into the next season? Do you think that was just a one-off? Virat Kohli
Uh,
coming back, Rohit Sharma coming back.
I have a very sadistic take on this whole Prakash. Okay, it's like when the first advisory come diktat was issued towards the end of the last season. You
Mhm.
wanted players to play Ranji Trophy when Ranji Trophy was all but over. In the
Mhm.
knockouts, it was issued. Okay, when that whole central contract fiasco of Shreyas Iyer and Ishan Kishan happened.
Mhm.
Okay, this year you made it clear. For
Mhm.
instance, a lot of people don't understand that Hardik Pandya was told that he had to play half the matches in Vijay Hazare Trophy to be considered for one day because he hadn't played a one day since the
Mhm.
2023 World Cup match against Bangladesh where he broke down.
Mhm.
Okay. When it comes to this Ranji Trophy, these notional appearances are not going to matter. Uh, Possibly we can plug that interview with Mumbai Chief Selector Sanjay Patil again. He was one
Mhm.
of the first ones and upfront to say that this, if at all it did anything to the team, it harmed the team because they
Mhm.
were not involved and we had to play them. We had no
Mhm.
choice. The fact of the matter is, if it is planned better, like you said, more than Vidarbha winning in a convincing fashion, more than Kerala making its first appearance in the Ranji Trophy final, the Ranji Trophy season will be remembered for Virat Kohli playing a Ranji game after 13 years, which was an inconsequential game for Delhi, and Rohit Sharma coming back to play a Ranji Trophy match after almost a decade, which Mumbai lost to Jammu and Kashmir. Okay,
Mhm.
so I don't know whether there is any more. There has to be a better thought given to it. When do
Mhm.
you ask players to play? India's test season is over.
Mhm.
Okay. After the Border Gavaskar Trophy debacle, you had to have them. Uh, you had to send out some signal. What
Mhm.
sense does it make, right? Instead, at the start of the season, rather than playing a kind of inconsequential bilateral T20 series, if you ask these players to play in an Irani or the first couple of rounds of Ranji Trophy, that
Mhm.
may make more sense for the season lying ahead.
Yeah. So what about next season? Do you think this will continue? Do you think the top Indian stars will continue playing Ranji
If
Trophy?
the chief selector is retained by the time the next season begins, which is a real long way,
Mhm.
uh, considering what happens tomorrow will have a bearing, what happens in England will also have a bearing, then the same policy will sustain. See, the policy
Mhm.
is welcome. It had to be implemented in a kind of a jiffy. Now it has to be planned well. Okay, who do you
Mhm.
want to play? Or rather, players now have got see in the last 5 to 7 years we had become used to even the so-called white ball specialists. Look at how
Mhm.
many matches has Yuzvendra Chahal or Shivam Dube have played for the state side, and compare that with the Ranji matches. Compare that with their Mushtaq Ali and IPL records, and then you'll realize that Vijay Hazare also not everyone plays. Everyone
Mhm.
is saying Varun Chakravarti is handpicked by Gautam Gambhir because he's his favorite at KKR. Varun
Mhm.
Chakravarti has been the bowler to watch out for in three consecutive Vijay Hazare Trophy seasons. How
Yes.
many people would realize this? So in
Mhm.
that respect, we should give it to the selectors. But the whole point is players now know they cannot give any stupid reason,
Mhm.
okay, and avoid playing domestic cricket. What is the other way out? Players say, why should I play and risk an injury? No, instead I'll train whenever and wherever I want. So that is the wider question about the state contract and all. We can deal with it later. But for the time being, the same policy will persist, and players will also know that there is very little room for them to give a senseless excuse, which was very routine in the last decade also.
Mhm. Another thing which I would want to discuss is the splitting of the red ball season. Like we had the first half of the Ranji season happen, and then the white ball uh, tournaments packed into it, and then the Ranji Trophy reinitiating. How do you think that affects with the players and their continuity and the planning and structure for the teams? What do you feel about that?
It's a welcome move in a lot of ways. This is like turning the clock backwards in a sense. There was a time when Ranji Trophy used to be played over 6 months. It will start in October, and the final used to be in the first week of April, which was the landmark week for the title of the tournament. Okay, so players who lost form had time to go back, work on the skills, and come back and get an opportunity again. Okay, in the current format, when it was every game was coming in thick and fast, the moment you lost your place in the side, it was very difficult for any player across any side to make a comeback the same season.
Mhm.
It needed a strong coach or a strong captain to back a particular player, which were very rare cases, right?
Mhm.
Very rarely did you see that a coach or a captain tells a player that, okay, take a break, go back, play either under 23 or local matches, or work on only these aspects. I want you, but you take a break for 2 matches, and after 2 matches, that captain and coach could tell the selectors, I want XYZ, right?
Mhm.
Now here you have that leeway, okay, and plus uh, Yash Rathod, the highest run getter of the season, made a
Mhm.
pertinent point that if all of us want to play at the highest level, the
Mhm.
format adaptation is key nowadays, and
Yeah.
that is what also is required at this level right now. So in every sense, it's a welcome move, is what I see. What's your take?
I feel the splitting was. I understand there were a lot of other factors in place, as in you can't play the Red Ball game in, say, North India, especially during the winters, because there's a greater chance of matches getting called off and points being shared or are unfair to certain teams. What I felt a little off was the timing of the IPL auction, which was a little iffy because it came right at the end of the Red Bull season, and I think the first half of the Red Bull season, which might have led to confusions among players, what kind of cricket to play, and the Smat and the Vijay Hazare coming after the auction, which proved to be a little counterproductive. That's my take on it.
But
Yeah,
that has nothing to do with the way domestic season was planned.
yeah,
The
absolutely,
the
absolutely.
way domestic season was planned, there was a week-long break
Mhm.
between SMAT and Ranji Trophy return, the December 3rd week.
Yeah.
Okay, that was supposed to be the original window for auction. Now
Mhm.
it's only a couple of people in the BCCI who actually know. I was in Jeddah for the auction, and everyone was asking, one, why are we here and why are we here now? Okay,
Mhm.
uh, no one had an answer to this. So you can't falter the domestic season
Absolutely. Yeah.
scheduling from for that,
Yeah.
but it's the same BCCI that conducts the IPL auction and the domestic season. They made their priorities clear, so that's about it.
Yeah. Yeah. You spoke about Yashwant Third, so I just we also have to talk a little bit about the standout players from this Ranji season. Yashwant Third, obviously, 960 runs in this campaign, almost got near to 1,000. Another Vidarbha player, obviously, is Harsh Dubey, broke the record for most wickets in a Ranji campaign, 69. He ended with 69, and he also scored for 450 plus runs. And considering his age, do you think Harsh Dubey is in line to say make a run for the Indian Test team squad, considering that Ravindra Jadeja is coming close to the end of his career? Do you think it's a like for like replacement?
You're touching pet peeve of the whole Vidarbha cricket fraternity. Okay, it's like during their past two victorious campaigns, Aditya Sarwate had picked 55 wickets and scored 350 plus runs in one of those seasons. He was never picked for India A, let alone India. Okay,
Mhm.
that's the sad tale of Vidarbha cricket, that players who help them win the trophy are not really rewarded. Akshay Wadkar had to set out had was omitted from the original first round Durip Trophy squads, and
Mhm.
then was included but was never given a game in Durip
Mhm.
Trophy last year. When he had scored 600 plus runs, the team had made it to the final. He had a Ranji Trophy final. Now with Karun Nair scoring 100 in the Ranji Trophy final, we are saying he should go to England.
Mhm.
With regard to Harsh Dubey, I still feel it's too early. Okay,
Mhm. Yeah.
he showed promise in the last season, which was his first full season. This
Mhm.
year he has been exceptional,
Mhm.
but suddenly to talk about him replacing Ravindra Jadeja is premature, I would say. You have
Mhm.
an Akshar Patel, okay, who has almost cemented his place parallelly along with Ravindra Jadeja. Okay,
Mhm.
that's one thing. Number two, sadly for Harsh Dubey, the next big red ball tour is to England, and there is a shadow tour to England. So
Mhm.
it's not a certainty that he'll definitely be on the plane to England. If he
Mhm.
is well and good, he'll
Mhm.
at least get a feel of bowling in those conditions. Okay.
Yeah.
So guys like Harsh Dubey and Yash Rathod, they
Mhm.
have to be watched out for. My only problem with it is, no, yes, no doubt they have scored the difficult runs, especially Yash Rathod. But what we saw in the knockouts, that
Mhm.
Vidarbha employing a lower order batter to negate the new ball,
Yeah.
okay, that kind of does disservice to individuals to an extent.
Mhm.
Because the selectors see, okay, does this mean that a Karun Nair or a Yash Rathod is not confident enough to face a new ball in a pacer's first spell?
Mhm.
Okay. Or does the coach not have confidence in him?
Mhm.
For the coach and the dressing room, winning the match is the most important. objective, right? So
Mhm.
these are the balances that one should have. But the players have delivered with whatever
Yeah.
they were asked to do. They have delivered. They couldn't have done anything wrong.
Mhm.
Okay. So now it's up to the national selectors to at least try them out, because ultimately you see Yash Rathod has scored 500s in the season. Okay,
Mhm.
two in the knockouts. That's a big deal. Okay,
Mhm.
Harsh Dubey, like you said, almost 500 runs. It's like since Sunil Joshi, he is the first in elite to
Mhm.
have picked 50 plus wickets and scored 400 plus runs. There have
Mhm.
been a couple of instances in plate, but
Play
let's not
division.
count
Yeah.
them.
Mhm.
Okay, but that way he has been phenomenal, and we have seen. See, Vidarbha don't did not play the knockouts on rank turners. Okay,
Mhm.
we saw how he created those chances.
Mhm.
Okay, it's like in Hindi there is this saying that wicket banana padta hai. You have to get as in set up a batter. Okay,
Mhm.
when the conditions are not favoring you, we have seen Harsh Dubey doing that time and again. That's
Mhm.
been his skill. That's his forte, and he
Yeah.
still rates himself as a batting all rounder. That's the irony of all this. Okay, but that shows that he can even do better with the bat.
Yeah.
So he is definitely someone to invest in. So is Yash Rathod. But let's see, in like 4 months, possibly once the Durib Trophy spots are out, we can discuss this issue again. Who are
Uh,
your most promising picks in that respect? You watched matches involving more teams than me. I watched only Mumbai most of all.
so yeah, Harsh Dubey, obviously the way he was bowling, very impressive. And as you said, maybe time will tell whether he will get a chance in the bigger scheme of things. I would like to talk about Salman Nisar of Kerala. He batted through some extraordinarily difficult situations for the team. Last wicket partnership against Jammu Kashmir, which cleans the lead. And then one thing which I noticed was the commitment he put into the field, the way he was fielding. That eventually proved to be the difference in the semi-final. The way he was fielding at short leg throughout the day, and batting also. Salman Nisar and Mohammad Asruddin, they were pretty good. Another player who was very impressive was Shubham Sharma, Madhya Pradesh skipper, ended with I think 940 runs. The way he was batting, the composure he had in his in the crease, very impressive. So these are few players, and then of course have to give a mention to MD Nidish, Kerala pacer. Again, strong season, one of his career best season. So these are few players who caught my eye. I mean, obviously there are a lot more, but then these are the few which I would like to point out. I think it's almost time for us to wind up. I would like to close up with one final question to you, Amal. Uh, what suggestion or what change would you expect from the next Ranji season? Some structural change, something which you feel will make the tournament better, something which you would like to see in the next year.
Uh, so this year, in that sense, was much, much, much better than the mess of the last few seasons. Uh, with regard to a major change that we can expect is the uh, batting and bowling points to be awarded in Ranji Trophy League stage from next season. It was tried out in the CK Naidu this year,
Okay.
and the objective was the same. Depending on the feedback that's
Mhm.
received from the team, they'll decide whether to implement the same.
Mhm.
Okay. That may be a game changer with regard to Ranji Trophy, because none of the current generation has ever
Mhm.
played with batting and bowling. It
How
was
does it
tried
work?
out almost. So it's like first innings, only
Mhm.
the in the first innings. Uh, I'll send you the chart. We can display it later.
Yeah.
For CK Naidu, for the first 100 overs,
Mhm.
depending on the runs you scored, you were awarded a batting point,
Mhm.
maximum of 5 batting points. And for bowling, depending on the wickets that you took, there are brackets
Mhm.
for numbers and wickets. For bowling, there was a maximum of 4 points on offer.
Mhm.
So, irrespective of, so they were add-on points. Whether
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
considered or, in addition to that, the innings lead and the outright win also stayed.
Mhm.
That's why if you go and look at the CK Naidu Trophy points table on the BCCI website, you will be confused. What is this? That's
Mhm.
because of the batting and bowling points. Okay,
Okay.
and that is something that may be introduced in the Ranji Trophy. It was well over decades ago. Late
Mhm.
80s was when it was tried out in the Ranji Trophy. but then there were allegations of malpractices that a team is favoring another team because that used to be the zonal format, no?
Ah, ah, ah,
So,
ah.
because, for instance, Kerala wanted to do disservice to uh, Karnataka, and back in those days, the points were awarded for both the innings. So,
Mhm.
second innings, you lose 1 point, 1 wicket intentionally, even if you are winning the match, so that another team is actually lagged behind in the points table. For this
Okay.
time around, it's only the first innings points. That
So
is quite
this
similar
is like
to.
a net and trade tiebreaker thing. In addition to
Not
the match.
really,
Okay.
not really. Then the net run rate will not come in
Yeah.
because you are rewarded even in a drawn match. You can
Mhm.
take heaps of points.
Oh, understood. Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Okay. Ah.
so
So it's
instead
not a
of
tiebreaker.
having just
It's a
one
point
point,
system. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah, I'll send you the points chart that was
Okay.
tried
Understood.
out in the CK Naidu. So it will be interesting to see whether that's tried out in the Ranji Trophy. Okay,
Mhm.
and the other thing is the scheduling because all said and done, the whole domestic cricket, rather the whole global cricket centers around the 2 month window starting towards end of March and that ends in late May, and
Mhm.
everything that has to do with it, like the small little event called auction. If that is prioritized over domestic cricket, then that doesn't really make sense for the domestic T20 tournament.
Yeah.
So all these things hopefully will be taken care of in the next.
Okay. Thank you, Amol. It was a very insightful conversation. I hope the viewers, the spectators also felt the same. Uh, so that's it from us. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.